born and raised in Toronto. Now she resides in the Ottawa area with her husband Brad. She has 2 children, her son Matthew, who lives and works north of Toronto, and her daughter Taylor, who's a social worker in Halifax. Kim's the granddaughter of one of the originating founding members of the Ukrainian Women's Organization of Canada. She was one of the original girls in the Divoji talk. Kim grew up taking part in all that the organization had to offer. Indeed, she's come full circle and is delighted to be back once again with us in her old stomping grounds. And she gets to celebrate her success within the Ukrainian community that she was raised in. She's been creating, writing, and storytelling for over 30 years and has previously authored Cross, a story of struggle, love, and redemption. Kim has also published an exclusive book of poems entitled Winter Solstice and has had her poetry published in various poetry anthologies. An old movie buff, she loves musicals, Ukrainian music, and anything Star Trek.
Right, Daria? You
Her latest endeavor was realized this year with the publishing of her second novel, In the Absence of Ads, half the proceeds of which will be donated to the Alzheimer's Society of Canada. I have the honor of turning over the floor to Kim, my lifelong friend.
don't.
And
All right.
sister by another mother.
Turn this on, and you can let me know if everybody can hear me. If I'm too loud.
No.
Hi, Chris. Is I come in to get you to say hi? Is it too loud? Let me know. Okay. Well, wow. First of all, I'm completely overwhelmed by this amazing turnout. I know some of you are here for the actual general meeting, so if anybody wants to leave, it's okay. You can go. I'd like to begin this evening, first of all, by thanking, I don't know where she went, there you are, Ms. Diana Fadoon, President of the Ukrainian Women's Organization of Canada, Toronto branch, and Ms. Patty Patterson-Latishko, President of the Ukrainian Women's Organization of Canada, National Executive, for inviting me back to my old stomping grounds, as Patty said. But I would also very much like to thank all of you for coming out on this horrible evening of drizzly weather and Raptor night. I really appreciate it. I was a little worried. Okay. So I just wanted to give you a little backstory of how In the Absence of Ants came to happen. And I chose to write it, or rather, it chose me, first and foremost, because Alzheimer's is one of the most significant and devastating scourges of our time. And the incidence of this destructive disease is rising sharply. As of today, over 500,000 Canadians are living with various forms of dementia, including Alzheimer's, with 25,000 new cases being diagnosed every year. I think it's a little big. By 2031, that number is expected to rise to a staggering 937,000. That's unbelievable. Worldwide, at least 44 million people are living with dementia. That's actually more than the total population of Canada, making this disease a global health crisis. But this book was also written to pay homage to my grandparents, predominantly my Polish paternal grandparents, whom I lived with up until the age of 7 when my parents got divorced. And I was very close with my Baba Nelly. And to this day, my memories of her are extremely vivid, even though I was only 9 years old when she died. In fact, every memory save one in absence is from my own childhood. So the book is a little bit of a biography as well. In the story, you, the reader, and only you, are privy to the many stages and emotions the central character lives through. You are her confidant, companion, and sounding board, which garners you an upfront and personal seat with which to listen to the accounting of her journey. Now, I've attempted to create this through narrative, memories, and private dialogue. And what I mean by private dialogue is that my character talks to herself, to her brain, a lot. And while I wanted to convey the confusion she feels in this evening's reading, it simply would have been too confusing to try to tell the narrative and then switch back and forth to when she was speaking to herself. So, for the purpose of tonight's reading, you won't get to hear her private thoughts. I've also omitted the childhood memories she moves back and forward from. But when you read the book, you'll see that each of my protagonist's memories corresponds to something that's happening to her in the present. For instance, a birthday party that she attends suddenly catapults her back to her own 9th birthday party, and she finds herself in the past. What I'll try to do this evening is to give you a sense of how she's coping with what she calls Al, afraid that speaking its full name, Alzheimer's, will give it reality and power. I'll also give you a very brief glimpse into her family. Daughter Paige, son David, daughter-in-law Meg, and she has a granddaughter Rain, as I think it's important to share some of the family dynamics. And while they don't really know what's going on with Mom, one has her suspicions, one is in denial, and one is totally out of the loop. And while her son and daughter-in-law try to figure out what's going on, you'll see how this begins to take a terrible toll on their marriage. So what I'll be reading today are excerpts from chapters, a quick but hopefully meaningful overview, and the reading will include snippets of her journey from diagnosis to near end stage. I won't be sharing the ending with you today. So just a couple of things before I actually begin the reading. Number one, warning, this book contains very strong language. The F word is used, just want you to be prepared for that. Number two, I will be stopping to pause in certain areas as I'm reading to signify a leap forward in the story. And number three, the part of David, her son, will be read by Brad. So sit back, get comfortable, and enjoy in the absence of ends. I'm sorry. That's all she said. Let me tell you what it's like to be on death row. First comes denial, then pleading and crying, followed by bargaining, sadness, and acceptance, but not necessarily in that order. Like a defective 78, emotions play over and over and over. Blip, 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 spinning in the old noggin like that ride where the floor drops out beneath you and the only things holding you up are inertia and centrifugal force. You're asphyxiated by fear. Adrenaline courses up and down your arms like Bernstein conducting the Philharmonic. Your knees buckle. Your mouth tastes like sand. Your heart pounds like a time bomb. Tick, 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 tick. You wait for it to explode, but it just keeps tick, 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 ticking. Your head rings with the commotion of 1,000 chimes clanging in such a cacophony, you don't even hear yourself scream, "I'm innocent!" But it doesn't matter, because there's no chance for appeal, no parole, no mercy. Al is judge and jury. It's decided. From here on in, you're under house arrest with a killer that puts Jack the Ripper to shame. There's no relief, no firing squad, no lethal injection. just drooling and shitting and death. Oh, make no mistake, he will kill you, but not before the slow, day by day, hour by hour, minute by minute, tick, tick, ticking torture. That's all, folks. Or like the dead in T.S. Eliot's The Hollow Men. This is the way the world ends. Not with a bang, but with a whimper. Lovely. Yeah, soon they'll be talking about me. Whispering, conspiring, glancing at me out of the corner of their eye. They'll smile, but not with kindness, with pity. The strain that makes me invoke rule number 1. Oh, that's my no crying rule. You know, people think they're being discreet when they gossip behind someone's back, but you're not. Because Miss Cancer and Cousin Heart Failure aren't stupid. They can sense the suppressed tones, trace the pity stench. It's how I know my next door neighbor is spying on me. In the middle of the night, when she thinks I'm sleeping, she comes and kills my flowers. I can smell the poison seeping through the window, suffocating me in my sleep. God forbid a dandelion waft over and defile her yard. Well, she better stay away from me, because I have more than a damn dandelion infection. By the way, have I mentioned that someone's actually stealing my clothes? Did I tell you that already? Sorry. I am not paranoid. You know, I have a good sense of humor. And so far, Al hasn't gobbled it up. So humor must be the second course. But you may have noticed that my sizzle is waning to a fizzle. Oh, this reminds me of a joke my husband used to tell. Oh, wow. I haven't thought of baby daddy in ages. AKA, the worst joke teller of all time. When he opened his mouth at a party, guests would scatter like dish soap and grease. Grease in dish soap. Anyway, Daddy was out back doing whatever men do in sheds, and I was inside seething because I'd asked him to do something important, and here he was wasting time. So to cool the tongue lashing he was about to get, I decided to bring him a beer. That's when I found him, lying in a heap, like a pile of snotty tissues. Idiot! What the hell are you thinking working on a blistering hot day like this? Have you lost your fucking mind? I knew he was dead, but there I was, cursing and screeching, trying to drag him out of that crematorium of a shed, all the while spewing obscenities over his corpse, as if I was playing a part in some perverse comedy. How dare you die, you stupid son of a bitch! Look at this mess! Fuck! The doctor said it was a myocardial infarction. I can remember that, but I can't remember my own stupid name. He could have said heart attack, but I guess myocardial infarction sounded more official. Funny the things we remember. That's when I cried. I hate birthdays. If anyone tells you you're only as old as you feel, punch them right in the mouth. Brain fog, dry mouth, exhaustion, arthritis. Al. And what the hell is it with our bodies suddenly eating us alive? What, one day our immune systems decide, hey, let's party. Cannibals. And yes, I said arthritis. Corny, right? I told you, I'm old. You know, if we're honest, cake and presents aren't the focus at our age. Birthdays are about being introspective. They're about zeroing in on the million things we didn't accomplish. And in my case, never will. So what should I celebrate? A shrinking brain? A daughter who hates me? Or a son who's so busy the only time I see him is when I set myself on fire? Yay! You know, I remember once seeing a boy torturing ants. You know, he had the poor things under a magnifying glass and he was trying to set them on fire. Boy, can I relate. For the last few years, my brain's been scorched, pulverized, and my memories scattered by the winds of time. So whoopee! Another trip around the sun. Time is slipping away. And the realization that my life is slipping with it, well, there's nothing to party about. I live my entire existence in the past tense. Did, was, used to, had. I experience nothing new. How can I? But I smile and go through the motions because if I don't, there'd be a barrage of questions, none of which I'm prepared to answer. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I kicked that kid's ass. Even ants deserve a life.
Ma, you're in a lot of trouble. What were you trying to do?
She killed my flowers, David.
I don't care. You can't pee in someone's yard.
What? I did no such thing.
The police said you peed in her bushes.
Well, that's ridiculous. She's lying.
Why? Why would she do that, Ma? She's
Hmm.
pressing charges. You could go to jail for 60 days or pay a fine of $500.
Yeah? Well, they should put her in jail. Did you see my flowers? They're dead, all of them. And how do you explain all those brown patches in the lawn?
Grubs? We've got them too, Ma. What's gotten into you? I expect this kind of behavior from some malicious punk.
Don't lecture me. I am still your mother.
What do you expect me to say?
I don't know.
I didn't know my mother was a criminal. What you did was outrageous and vulgar. And frankly, I'm shocked.
Well, what was I supposed to do?
Well, for starters, not pee in your neighbor's yard. You should apologize, Mom.
I will not.
Fine.
You don't believe me, do you, David? You think I'm crazy?
Ma, I don't know what to think. What reason would your neighbor have for poisoning your flowers? Did you have a disagreement? An argument? What?
She's psycho, that's what.
Stay away from her. Understand? I mean it. I'm going to see if I can smooth things over and get her to drop the charges.
Well, you seem to care a lot more about her than your own mother.
Do you want to pay $500 or go to jail?
No.
Okay then. What would I tell Rain? Grandma's in jail for peeing in her neighbor's yard?
You're right, David. I'm sorry. Please don't tell Rain.
I don't plan to. I'm even too embarrassed to tell Meg. Now listen, stay put until I get back.
David, please don't be mad at me. I have a lot on my mind.
You've lost your mind.
Don't say that.
Fine, but I mean it, Ma. No going over to her house, no yelling over the fence, no sending nasty notes, no anything, right?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Hey, Meg, I've been wondering, what should we get Ma for her birthday? Any thoughts?
How should I know, David?
Okay, not the response I was expecting. What's wrong?
You know what? Why don't you and Paige figure it out, just for a change? Why do you always leave everything to me?
Whoa, I'm not leaving anything to you, Meg. I'm asking your opinion.
Fine. You want my opinion? Here it is. We agreed that Paige needed to check in with your mom.
Are you on this tangent again?
Mm-hmm.
For the last time, Meg, I can't force my sister to come home. She's a grown woman, not an employee I can boss around.
Right. Your sister. A sister who never sees her mother.
What do you want me to do, Meg?
I don't know.
Wave a magic wand and poof! Fix what's been broken between them for the last 25 years? Whatever their issues, they can't be resolved overnight. And anyway, it's not my place to fix their crap. Shit, I'm barely holding on my own. I can't do it.
But you expect me to do it, don't you?
What are you talking about? I haven't asked you to do a thing.
Seriously? Do you recall the conversation we had about me taking some time for myself? About you pitching in? What happened to that? I'm still the chauffeur, the maid, the chief cook and bottle washer, and I haven't had a break from your mother. Your mother, David. Your mother. You promised me you would check in. Do shopping, take her to the doctor. Any of this ring a bell?
I'm sorry, Meg. Things have been crazy at work.
Yeah, life is inconvenient.
Come on, Meg. That's not fair.
Yeah, you're right. It's not fair. We're falling apart, David. If we don't get back on track, our marriage is dangerously close to falling apart.
You can't be serious. I think you're being a little dramatic, Meg.
David, I'm feeling overwhelmed, and sad, and unappreciated, and unloved.
You're not the only one, Meg. The disconnect is there for me, too. But I'm doing the best I can.
Are you? What about Paige?
And I told you, Ma doesn't need a nursemaid. And Paige is working. If Ma needed her, Paige would be here.
My God, David, she does need her. From the moment I mentioned your mom might have dementia, you've moved into full-fledged denial. You're defensive and combative.
Look who's talking.
Oh.
And it's not denial when there's nothing to deny. I don't see the dementia boogeyman around every corner. I don't see losing things or getting pissed as a sign that it's time to ring the fire bell at the psych ward. God, Meg, I'm so tired of this. And I'm sick to death of you being angry all the time.
Well, maybe I wouldn't be angry if you'd open your eyes to what's going on. I'm exhausted, David. And you don't seem to care. And I'm not mad. I'm sad. And I'm lonely. Do you realize we haven't spent more than an hour together when we weren't arguing? Do you remember the last time we were intimate because I can't. You don't even kiss me anymore.
That's not true.
Really? The last time we had sex was months ago. I think our anniversary, but fine. Not another word because, contrary to what you believe, I'm sick to death of having this argument over and over too. I'm tired of you pretending that everything is hunky-dory. I'm tired, period. From now on, when you want to bury your head in the sand, I'll let you.
All I wanted was to get input on a birthday gift, not go another 12 rounds.
Beep. This is Dr. Bennett's office calling again. Please give us a ring as soon as possible to reschedule your appointment. Beep. Thank you. Yeah, thanks. I swear, doctors would test and give us meds after we were in the grave if they could. Helping you live longer? Bullshit. A life dictated by disease and doctors is not a pleasant combo. It's tiresome. I used to be a person. And now I'm a statistic. After your diagnosis, you suddenly exist in some alternate universe. And the shift is abrupt and tragic. Oh yeah, and fatal. Because once you enter the realm of the dead and dying, there is no turning back. Why don't they just leave me alone? Jesus walked this lonesome valley. He had to walk it by himself. Oh, nobody else could walk it for him. He had to walk it by himself. I've always loved that hymn. But I never understood the depth of loneliness Jesus must have felt until Al came into my life. And the valley grows darker every day. You know, one day, I know I'll stare into that vacuous hole and belly flop, but not today. Hell, I won't even be aware I'm dying. At least I don't think I will. You know, Al will destroy Command Central and that'll be that. You know, brain dead, body dead. Why didn't faith sustain me or propel me into that place of peace right from the get-go? I don't know. Perhaps it's a requirement to experience the stages of denial and anger and the bargaining, depression, before arriving at acceptance. You know, I've poo-pooed the notion of free will, but I can see now that it has merit. You know, I'm unclear as to whether God gets frustrated or amused by the fact that we make life so complicated. But I'm not going to beat myself up for allowing fear to overshadow faith. After all, I'm only human. Well, maybe less human than I used to be, or perhaps more human, because I've come to understand that I am more, yes, I am more than the sum of my parts. More human. Less human. Oh, I don't know. Anyway, it's just a theory. You know, while science can define blood and bone, tissue and sinew, even Al isn't understood. And the greatest minds have yet to fathom the soul. I'm certain an alternate dimension exists, one that can't be explained. Not yet, at least. Hey, wait. Dimension? Dementia. Is it possible that we need to rid ourselves of our brains to glean heaven? I must go and stand my trial. I've got to stand it by myself. Oh, nobody else can stand it for me. I've got to stand it by myself. Mommy, are you waiting for me? I'm not scared anymore, Mommy. I'm going to sit for a second as I'm old, really, I am actually old, and my hips hurting. So I'm going to pull this forward. And if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask about just anything, the reading, the book, this process, whatever it is, shoot. Don't be shy. I know you all. You can talk to me. Yes?
How did you do the research on Alzheimer's, and how did you get into that mind?
Yeah, so as I kind of alluded a little bit to in the beginning, some of you know that I wrote Cross to start with, and people asked me at my last book signing, was I going to write a sequel? And I explained, yeah, it could have a prequel but not a sequel. So I was all set to do that, and I sat down, and nothing. Nothing, and just wham, this came to me. And I thought, what a very strange topic. Not strange topic because it's, again, it's so prevalent now, but I personally, believe it or not, know no one that has had Alzheimer's. My parents died young. My mom died when she was 66, so she wasn't there yet. My grandparents I write about in the book, as I said, they also didn't live long lives. And the only grandparent that lived to 103 was Baba, and she was sharper than me. So I just don't know exactly where that came from, but I did do a lot of research. And while I didn't really want to talk too much about that today because I'm not a doctor, I did do a lot of research on all the various millions of forms of dementia that are out there, and the differences between all of them, and the differences between this and Alzheimer's. And one of the things I can tell you is that Alzheimer's is a very specific form of dementia. So I like to tell this story. You know, people with Alzheimer's, their brain is literally being eaten away and shrinking. So, and it touches centers that bring out anger, rage, and all those kinds of things. Whereas somebody that just has a different form of dementia, like my husband Brad's. They would visit her every Sunday, and she would smile. She didn't know who any of the family was, and she would smile at them and say, "Well, I don't know who you are, but I sure am glad you came." You know? So there are various forms of dementia, and I did look all of them up. When you come to either get your book signed or to purchase, I also stopped by before I came. I stopped by the Alzheimer's Society in Ottawa, and I picked up some pamphlets. So please help yourselves to all those if you would like to read more about that and get more of information on that. So thanks, Binka. Anything else? Nope. How long? Well, it took probably a year, more or less. There's a lot of editing, and I went through about 5 months just in the editing process. That's the worst part. The best part, of course, is the writing. I like that part. So, but it took about a year to get it to where I wanted it. And even now, when I was preparing for this, I was reading, and I said, "Oh shoot, why didn't I do that? I should have put it this way. I should have said this. I should have added that." It's like, you know, there's a lot of artists in this room, and maybe I'm speaking out of turn, but it's never perfect. You can always make it this much better, or that much better, this, add this and that. So I actually don't like to reread what I've written because I just think, this is awful. But no, it's not. It's really not. It's very good.
It's very good.
Megan.
Have you ever thought to make it into an audiobook? Because I think you're just fabulous.
Right.
Way
Oh,
to tell
thanks.
the story.
I actually have thought about that, and my cousin's son has a recording studio in Fenland Falls. He's always saying, "Listen, anytime you want to come up and do it," you know. So I might take him up on that.
Oh, you should do it.
Especially on
I think Ross could be in that. Yes,
No,
Maria?
but especially on this particular topic that's very, very timely. The way you've presented, you would be fantastic. You're the person to read it.
Well, I want to ask you all a question. How many have read it? Okay. So you all that have read it, did it occur to you that this character has no name?
Oh, she does
She
have
has
a name.
no
Her
name.
name is Mom.
His mom. And the reason, I tried all kinds of names, but they all seemed wrong. No matter what I chose, no matter what I picked, somehow speaking her name seemed wrong. And I realized that it was the universe's way of telling me that this is everybody's mom, everybody's dad, everybody's auntie, everybody's cousin, everybody's friend. So I didn't want to give her, it wasn't meant to be for her to have a specific name. So,
How did you come up with that title?
okay, well, if you read the book, the book is a brain, an Alzheimer brain, and a peony. And there's symbolism here because without ants, peonies don't open, or they don't open as well. So peonies have to remove, or ants have to remove all that sticky stuff. So that thought, okay, sticky stuff on the flowers, sticky glop in the head. And my character talks a lot about why don't the doctors put in ants? Why don't they put in ants? And as she gets progressively worse, she thinks it's because there's an absence of ants. So,
Very clever.
thank you. That's why I chose that. Yeah.
Kim, what drew you to that topic?
Well, here,
Alzheimer's
that's,
without having that experience
yeah,
already?
that's the crazy thing.
That
When I'm writing, it tells me what to write. I don't know what you want to call it. You can call it God, the universe, the muse, the inspiration, whatever it is. Because as I said, I had sit down to write the prequel to Cross. And I couldn't And all of a sudden, this just came to me. And I thought, how can I possibly write about this? I don't know anybody that's had this. I don't know, I've not seen that. But what I did hear was a lot of stories from a lot of people who's had grandparents and friends, relatives that have gone through this. My best friend who just passed, her mom also had Alzheimer's. So Debbie would tell me stories about that too. So, you know, it's just, but I do think it's just the universe telling me what to do. It's maddening actually, because sometimes I want to write something and my character or whatever says, I don't think so. I don't want to do that. I want you to make me do this. So then I have to kind of write that. So it just came to me, Natalie. I don't know. It just came. Hello. Hey, how are you?
Fine, how are you?
Good. Yeah. So.
I must say you're a very, very good actor.
Thank you. Sure, with Kalinda my whole life.
She studied dramatic arts at the University of Windsor when she was there.
But only 1 year. But only 1 year. Yes. Yeah. I'm natural. I'm fine tonight. Natural worked out. Janice.
I think if we read it ourselves, we wouldn't have that intonation that you have in your
No,
voice.
but
We wouldn't feel it.
Daria, I'll ask you then. Do you think that just reading it takes away from the power of it?
No,
Yeah.
no, because it was inside my head. I could
Okay,
hear her.
and what, again, why I couldn't do what I wanted to do was, again, a lot of the book is her talking to you, the reader, and talking to her brain and saying, be quiet, I don't want to deal with this, you need to be quiet. But if I tried to figure out a way for this reading, because I really wanted to incorporate that, it's very powerful. But I thought, can't put a mask, take a mask. Nothing really worked, and then I thought about having someone else read it, but again, not being able to work with a person maybe ahead of time to read it, I couldn't really do that. So I felt terrible, but I omitted that. But when you read the book, it'll be more powerful to you, just the words, because of her back and forth. And again, what I didn't also do here was talk about her memories. So I'll just give you one idea. So her family has thrown her a birthday party, which she does not want to go to. But she's not told her family about any of this, so she's at the birthday party. But as soon as she sits down there, it takes her back to her 9th birthday, and she's moved to a new neighborhood, and her mom has brought all her old friends, and that's every memory in here is my childhood. So except one. Except this one,
Yeah.
actually. I came close to that one, but it wasn't very accurate. And she's running around the yard, and her friends start piling into the backyard, balloons and all these things, and she has to pee. And her mother keeps saying, Kimmy, because that's she was telling, Kimmy, do you have to pee? Yes, Mother, yes, I know. She's running around the yard. And in the story, she pees herself. But when you flash back, she's peed herself at the restaurant, sitting there. So it's that kind of thing. So she moves back and forth from her memories of her childhood into the present day, and those kinds of things happen. So, but you know what? Read it. I'd love your feedback. Send me a email or a note or call me and let me know what you think.
Well, I think now that we've heard you read, when we read it ourselves, we'll hear your voice.
Yes.
Well, I hope so. But if not, I'll come by the house. Give me a private reading if you want one. You know, I'm very accommodating.
Will you be having any other book launches or just this one?
Well, as I said, Diana and Patty have been very, very gracious to host me twice. And I'm hoping to do one in Ottawa. I'd like to with the Ukrainian community there too, and someone has asked me about it. But this is kind of my old home, and I'm very grateful to the organization, to the Women's League, to the ladies that participated in having me. And as I said, I'm very grateful to all of you for coming and supporting this. As I think I mentioned, because I'm not sure if I have Alzheimer's, but I probably got some, because I don't remember if I actually said this to you, but I will be donating half the proceeds of the book. Fine, then there you go. I want to reiterate that, yeah. I want to reiterate that just so you all know. And I've also brought, by the way, book. I've also bought Cross, if somebody would like to also purchase those. And for Cross, I donate half the proceeds of that book to an organization called Build On that builds schools in the most impoverished places in the world. And they take at-risk youth and take them over there. They live with the villagers. They sign covenants that women and girls can go to school when schools are finished. They all participate in building it. And I think that's one of the reasons I'm going to continue to write, because I continue to find causes that speak to my heart, and I'd like to be able to donate to that. And as you know, one person could donate so much unless you're, I don't know, Warren Buffett or somebody. But when you have a group of people that can donate to that cause, a community, then that money goes a little bit farther. So I will continue to hopefully do that. Yeah.
People coming, and we're also excited about hosting you for this evening. And we want to thank you very much.
It was my pleasure.
And your next book, you know where to come. We'd like to launch. We like to launch. We like having literary evenings, but you always have an audience and a place to come here.
Thank you, Diane.
We do miss
so
you.
much.
Thank you. Thank you.
How much is your book?
It's $20, no tax. I am working on a third. And I almost brought a little snippet to bring, but I didn't. So you'll just have to wait for the next time. So, all
Maybe
right.
during Facebook, and we'll
Yes, that's it.
share
That's it.
You know,